Evening everyone, Rule 303 here. I wanted to show you a piece of equipment that I'm delighted to say is now part of my collection. I got it from a collector, a very well-known collector over in Belgium. I try very much to only buy things from well-known collectors or from veterans or the families of veterans in order to ensure that they have the correct provenance. Even though I'm fairly good at spotting fakes, nobody's infallible, and I certainly don't want to be stung with a fake at any stage really, and I would not wish that on anybody else. So that being said, here is the item that I've recently purchased, which I received today, and as most of you will identify, this is a Brodie helmet. It's a World War I Brodie helmet. In collectors' eyes, it's nothing kind of special really, although for me it is. This is the iconic item of World War I really, from the British side. It's got such a distinctive shape to it. It's different in several ways to the World War II Brodie helmet. The shape is different. This particular one is a non-magnetic Brodie, so it's not one of the very early ones. It has got a rim here, as you can see. That's a hammered rim. I can actually, when I run my thumb around it, I can feel the peening marks there. It's a super example. It's got quite a bit of the original apple green paint still on it. It's got the original liner in there, and I'm not going to fiddle around too much because these liners do still contain asbestos, so I'm not going to disturb that too much. And once I've done this little demo, this will go on a shelf, not to be moved. The chin strap's in very good condition. It appears to all be original. I believe it is. The liner itself, these liners were quite delicate. They weren't particularly robust. I don't think they were designed to last 108 years. So this helmet is in really stunningly good condition. It's not a refurb. A lot of these were refurbed in the 30s and 40s for World War II before they started actually making the slightly revised version of these for World War II use exclusively. This is an original World War I helmet. The liner, I have carefully looked under the liner, and it does carry the Brodie patent stamp, the red stamp on the underside of this black liner here. Altogether, just a really super example. Now, these helmets were never designed to stop bullets. Anybody that knows anything about ballistics will understand that a 175 grain bullet travelling at over 2,000 feet per second is going to plough straight through this, straight through whatever's inside it, namely somebody's head, and straight through the other side. It's not going to stop. A bullet's not even going to stop for breath. It's going to go straight through it. What these were designed to stop were the volume of head injuries suffered by the British Army. Now, most, in fact all participants in World War I think, at least certainly in trench warfare, adopted some kind of steel helmet or protective headgear, certainly on the Western Front. And the reason for that, if you think about it, it's quite logical. If you're standing in a trench with the top foot or so of your body, which is your head obviously, able to poke out over the top, the chances of head injuries occurring are extremely high, and indeed that happened. So in 1915 they started to introduce the concept of steel helmets to frontline troops. And in the very early stages of the introduction of these steel helmets, in the British Army at least, they were basically issued to the troops as they entered the trenches to go into frontline duty, and then as they left the trenches, when they went for a rest after however many days it was that they were in the trench, or whatever duty they were undertaking under fire, they handed the helmet back, and then the next lot of lads would go in, they would receive the helmet, and so on and so forth. Eventually, later in 1916, these became standard issue, and more or less every soldier going into the trenches would have a helmet, including officers. The notion that officers wore caps to attack is not correct. In 1916, officers were singled out as targets as much as anything else, and they wore steel helmets in order to appear to look the same. Their heads are no harder or no more resilient to shrapnel or anything else than the average Tommy. So everybody pretty much wore a steel helmet. These are really weighty in construction. They're quite substantial, really. I always thought the original Brodie looked less substantial than the Second World War battle bowler steel helmet. And these are actually, I think they are beautifully engineered. I think they're lovely helmets. It's got a real I don't want to use the word charm, but it's got a real draw to it. I love this helmet. It's great. Now, if we look at the shape here, very different to the German steel helmet, the Stahlhelm. The German steel helmet had a very low neck protector and a very deep profile. At least the First World War Stahlhelm did. I will do a video on the Stahlhelm at some other point, the World War One Stahlhelm. I haven't got one in my collection at the moment, although I've got several really nice M35s and M42 steel helmets that the Germans used in the Second World War. Anyway, I'm digressing. So this helmet is very different. The principle of this helmet was more around stopping things coming from above. So if you can imagine, in the heat of battle, you've got shrapnel shells going off and puffs of shrapnel shells exploding, and then shrapnel balls coming down into the trench and taking out the guys in the trench with great regularity. You know, one of the most common munitions used in the war, along with high explosives. And these helmets may not stop a shrapnel ball travelling at an extended velocity, but there were plenty of spent shrapnel balls flying through the air at lesser velocities that would still kill you. This helmet could save your life. Apart from that, if you're in a dugout and you get bombed and a beam falls on your head, there you go. You know that's a head injury, a death or a maiming. This helmet could save your life. In the heat of battle, there's plenty of crap flying around that you don't want to hit you on the head. And these helmets did provide some protection against that. So the principle of these helmets was absolutely not to stop rifle bullets. They might stop a rifle bullet at extended range, you know, if it was really spent and it hadn't got much energy left, or maybe possibly a ricochet, or a ricochet that had gone off two items, you know, and then it was traveling. This helmet happened to be the third. Maybe that would stop it, you know, things like that. But these helmets were not designed to stop high velocity impacts. They were designed to stop low velocity impacts and crush injuries and things of that nature. Obviously, in the heat of battle, there's stacks of those things going on. It's chaotic, so it's a good piece of kit to have. Not so good at protecting the kind of the head below approximately the line of the ears. The German helmet has got a far more ergonomic shape, and it actually protects the neck quite considerably. It also has quite an extended front brow here. The rim at the front comes out quite a long way. It's like a bucket sitting on your head, but it does provide a lot of protection. So anybody that's looking at getting into collecting, for me, this is an iconic item. For me, this would have been, when I was collecting as a little boy, this would have been a grail item for me. If I'd have known one day that I was going to own one of these, I would have been wetting myself with excitement. I really would have. And to have this in my hands now at the age of 48 is just amazing. It really is. And it never stops making me think about how I'm 48 and this thing is over that lifetime again in terms of its age, and it's just in such wonderful condition. There's not a fake thing about it. It is absolutely original, and I can't thank the collector that hooked me up with this enough, really, for his assistance and the excellent price I got it for. Now remember, good examples like this don't necessarily need to come at a premium. As a collector, you will find bargains. Look for them. Negotiate. Don't be afraid to negotiate with a fellow collector over a price. That's what happens. It's what we do. Don't be rude. Don't go in at some lowball price that, you know, the collector feels insulted by. But certainly having a discussion about a relatively expensive item, if it's a couple of £100 or a couple of £1,000, there's, you know, there's nothing hard. There's no harm in actually having a conversation around cost and price. Okay, so this helmet is one of the nicer items in my collection as it stands. It's not a particularly uncommon helmet to get, but it is quite uncommon to get with the liner and the chin strap in such good condition. And it's an unadulterated helmet that went over from Sheffield, as I said, 60 miles north of where I live, and it went over to France, and it got, well, whatever happened to it, it ended up in Belgium. So that's where I got it from. I got it from a seller in Belgium who posted it over to me very kindly, and now it is part of my collection. I'm absolutely over the moon with it. So if you are interested in this kind of thing, this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up, please subscribe, and we will bring more of it to you, and hopefully it will be of interest, and we can get some more cracking videos on World War I and World War II kit out there to complement the shooting videos and all the other stuff that we're doing on the channel. Thanks very much. Bye for now.